Alright, what is going on, guys? Got one more breakdown for UFC Vegas 68 before I get started on next week's videos, but this one's a main card fight at welterweight. We got Adam Fugitt taking on Yusaku. Kinoshita. For Kinoshita, it's going to be his UFC debut after fighting on the Contender series. Fugitt's going to have a big advantage in reach here, about 6.5 inches, though he's only an inch taller. So I guess I'll start with Adam Fugitt. This will be his first fight in the UFC with a full camp because he did take that fight against Michael Morales on short notice, like really short notice, like a couple days. And yeah, he got knocked out in the third round there, but Michael Morales I think is about as good as it gets in terms of prospects, just pure blue chipper. And Kinoshita has some blue chipper ability, but he's very raw. That's kind of like the story for him. But yeah, he has another tough test here. But in that Morales fight, for coming in on a couple days' notice, he did do some things well in there. He has a very kick-heavy game plan for the most part, from what I've seen of him on the regional scene and in the UFC. But yeah, he was doing all right. Managed to ground him a couple times, but Morales did just look a step ahead. I don't know what the score was. You could have maybe given Fugitt a round in there, but I don't know. I don't really think that. I think Morales was just staying patient and was exposing some technical mistakes in Fugitt's game once he got tired. And by the end of the third round, he was very tired. Again, short notice, so he does get put out in the third round there. But, he fought an admirable fight against a really tough opponent. And prior to getting to the UFC, his win on in against Solomon Renfro, that's a very quality win, I would say. That one is on Fight Pass, and it's probably on YouTube somewhere too. You can probably at least get the knockout. It was a very short fight, but he does the same deal, comes in, kick-heavy game plan, just a ton of kicks. Renfro kind of seemed overwhelmed by it. Wasn't really blocking a lot of these body kicks. His reach presents some problems. And then Renfro just gets caught off balance. Fugitt hits him with a straight left, and he just goes down, and he's out. Puts him out with hammer fist. So it's a little bit of a weird knockout. Like, I don't know what happened. It's either Fugitt has bricks for hands or Renfro was just off balance. But again, Renfro is solid. I think that we'll see him in the UFC at some point. He did lose on the Contender series, a really close decision with Johnny Parsons, who hasn't fought yet. But he's won 2 in a row since the Fugitt fight. So I think if he wins his next fight in March, we'll see him back on the Contender series. So again, quality win there. But other than that, not a whole lot of pro fights for Fugitt. He's fought most of his pro fights since 2018, and he's 34. So I don't know if calling him a late bloomer to MMA is accurate, but he did start his pro career a little late, and he has lost to a debuting fighter as recently as 2018. So, I do like what I've seen. He seems scrappy, but it's just hard to get a read on how good he is. And for Kinoshita here, this guy has a lot of potential for sure. Just really, really crisp striking. Doesn't waste a lot of movement. And as you can see with the record, it's just very raw. He hasn't really fought anybody top level yet. That one fight where he did lose, it's on YouTube. It's absolutely brutal. Like in Rising, you can stomp on their head, I guess. I'm not too familiar with the other rule set, but he was stomping on his head, but I guess you can't stomp on his head while you're holding on to the fence. So that's what happened. He also landed a nut shot in there that was just like a baseball bat to the nuts. And just one of the more brutal fights I've seen in a minute. But he did kind of outclass that guy in that one. So we can call him, I guess, 7-0. Like, if we're actually watching the tape. Like, I know it's a DQ, but it's a weird DQ. There's a lot to like in there. But, now he's training with Henry Hooft. And, that's a big factor for me, at least. I am going to pick Kinoshita, just kind of going to give it away. But, just the story with this guy is great power, great technique, just very green. I haven't really seen him tested on the ground yet. At least in the fight tape that I watched, I haven't seen it, and we got to imagine that that's probably the weaker part of his game. The game plan on strikers like this is usually just to try to take him down. So, I wouldn't at all be surprised if we see Fugitt try to wrestle here. But, yeah, this guy, very technical, doesn't waste a lot of movement, like I said, and just big-time power. So we look at the odds here, and it's minus 315 for Kinoshita. Fugitt coming back at plus 260. Money's been coming in on Kinoshita late, and I'm going to agree with that. I'm also going to go Kinoshita by knockout, and I did bet that. You can see my bets on Bet Tip. But yeah, I had to deliberate on this one a little bit because I don't think that Fugitt is that bad at all, and I think that him getting to MMA late just kind of does a little bit for his mentality. I could see him just making this like an interesting scrap in like the first round and make Kinoshita have to dig for it, but this guy's just too technical, and I think that with training with Henry Hooft, it's going to go a long way as the years go on, and I expect this guy to find the knockout maybe the second or third round. Maybe similar to what happened on the Contender Series, because that is what happened on the Contender Series. But yeah, there is some element of risk here. That's basically this whole card. I think it lacks sure things, but there's a lot of low risk, high reward opportunities. You see Kinoshita, I believe he's plus 120 for the knockout, and yeah, he's plus 120 for the knockout. So that's not a bad price, for how green this guy is, and it is a very possible outcome here. So I do like Kinoshita, but same deal. Not a super sure thing. A little bit risky, especially if you're going to take the money line. But I do like Kinoshita by knockout. So thanks for watching, guys. Sure, subscribe, and take it easy.